Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of my Lunar Lessons podcast episode. This is a monthly episode that I do exclusive to the podcast where I share my experiences or my lessons, really, that I've learned, realizations that I've had over the lunar cycle that we're winding down. So the current lunar cycle is the Aries new moon that was back in March. Currently, it's April 16th of 2023. So the new moon was in March 2023. And we are currently today actually transitioning from the third quarter moon into the waning gibbous moon. So I primarily work with the quarters. So the third quarter moon, and then the next quarter is the next new moon coming up. So I share in this kind of third quarter phase what my reflections, etc. for the lunar cycle, keep myself accountable, and also to share with you the journey, right? The experience. It's not ever done. It's always ongoing, and it evolves, and it goes up and down and looks different from time to time. So that's what I'm here to do. So getting into it. So this is, like I said, for the Aries new moon that happened in March of 2023. And my intention, which has seemed to be kind of the pattern the last at least 2 or 3 lunar cycles, did not immediately come up, or was not immediately clear or jump out at me, if you will. It wasn't something that I knew, like, yes, this is it. And if you're new to working with the moon, or even with the way that I do things and that I have learned and have incorporated into my life, I work with feelings-based intention. So you set the intention for the feeling, how you desire to feel, and then take actions and work through the lunar cycle that way, based on how you want to feel in your body, in yourself, in your life, etc. So that's another podcast. That's for some other time. But I work with feelings-based intentions. And so I wrote after the couple days, right after the new moon, I wrote, if I'm being honest, my higher or inner self knew what it was, but my current or ego self resisted it and did not allow it to really form into words. And so why I wrote that was because even after I pulled cards for the new moon, I typically pull, there's a, what's it called? A tarot spread for each zodiac sign, new moon of that zodiac sign, if that makes sense. And so with pulling cards, I put off journaling about the cards, what the insights were, I think, from that resistance, that, oh no, that ego self saying, no, 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 no. Even though my higher self, of course, knew what the intention was, right? So my intention, what came to me is confidence to be me, confidence to be myself. So that feeling that I set the intention for is confidence. And so that felt hard. That felt hard, even though it's something that I talk and teach and coach other people on, is to be your authentic self. And what I wanted it to be, so to speak, like, oh no, it's not confidence. It's like, it's Aries. Let's just, it's got to be something about along the lines of being passionate or fiery or feisty or something along those lines. And I had to be honest with myself and say, no, that's not it. You actually have no problems being feisty or passionate or fiery. That is pretty natural. That was pretty natural. So it did boil down to the confidence to be me. And so if you're watching this on the video portion of YouTube or on Spotify, I'm actually looking at my journal. I don't write typical show notes or notes like I typically do, because this is actually coming straight from my journal. So sometimes I have to figure out my own writing. So I wanted to veer towards something like fiery or feisty, but that came or comes pretty naturally to me. So the lesson, that's what I was looking at here. The lesson here is sometimes the intention we are guided to is what we need, right? The next step, the feeling that we need it to be, and not what we want it to be. And so realizing that distinction, like if you're resisting it, or the whatever you do to set intentions and pull cards or journal, notice if it's something that you're resisting it because it feels hard, or if it's really resistance along the lines of you're setting an intention based on someone else's desires for you, or a feeling that you think you should be feeling in this moment. So be aware of that. That's how the working with the moon helps us tap into our own emotions and see what information that is giving us too. So the intention was, or is, for this lunar cycle, confidence to be me, because that can manifest in so many different ways. And it has. I have taken action and done things differently than I would have in the past, right? Where I didn't have the confidence. And I'm not saying I automatically developed that confidence, but using confidence as the guide, as what I set as an intention that I want to experience, then I take action and I see things from that lens. Will this action build confidence? Or is it something that I'm already comfortable with and need to go a step beyond that, or do it in a different way? So being confident, which is the feeling, that can manifest itself in so many ways. The way, the way I dress, the decisions, how I make decisions, and the decisions that I make, and the way I speak or communicate. I've always been a talkative person, and you can go check out, like, on my Facebook page where I've done a weekly live for years, you can see the difference where I was never afraid, so to speak, to get on live video, but I didn't really know or have that confidence of what the intention was always in what I was delivering. But I still needed that experience to develop and strengthen the confidence to learn all the tech and learn how to adjust and figure things out on the fly if I need to, without also having the pressure of, oh, I have to, speak well and communicate well. It naturally developed. But now I have no problem. I've developed how to take notes for myself. I know how to just have bullet points so that I can naturally speak on certain things without having to read. And this Lunar Lessons is a little bit of an exception because, like I said, I'm not sharing general information. I am sharing my personal lessons that I have been jotting down through the lunar cycle. So that's what I was sitting with from, the new moon time into the first quarter time, that it is confidence to be me. And in that new moon quarter phase, from the new moon to the first quarter moon, the affirmation that I started writing in my planner every day to support my intention is confidence looks good on me. Because how many times, or if you've heard in the past how someone that looks and comes across and is confident, that is a very desirable trait. It is like an accessory, right? That doesn't need to be tangible. It's not like an earring or earrings or jewelry or purse. It's this essence. And so confidence looks good on me is the affirmation that I have been writing in my planner every single day since I got clear on that intention of confident to be me. And so then come the first quarter time frame, I jotted down that I'm pretty self-aware. So I am very aware in those moments where I'm just giving in to distractions, or where I'm doing self-sabotaging behaviors, right? Like scrolling instead of actually doing some work, or letting myself say, oh, I have to go start the laundry, or whatever the case is that is not actually in alignment with the tasks that I set to complete for myself that day, or feeling confident as myself that day. So I'm very aware when these things are happening, but I'm also just sitting there and watching it happen, right? I'm letting it happen because I'm the one that's in control of the actions that I take or don't take. So I wrote down that I'm pretty self-aware and am fully aware when I am doing things that don't align with what I am moving towards, and that I am self-sabotaging. Self-awareness is great because there was a time where I was not self-aware. So this is what is coming to me with my journaling and things that I, looking for actions to take to support that intention of confident to be me. Self-awareness is great, but I need to shift the behavior. And so in this action taking phase of the first quarter moon, that is that lesson, that insight that I got. I need to change the behavior, not simply be aware and watch watch what is happening. I realized that I take action to change those self-sabotaging actions when I get tired and fed up with my own shit. So basically, when I get to a point where I am frustrated enough, I'm like irritated, pissed off, whatever, bored, whatever word comes to mind, when I get to the point where I'm fed up with myself, fed up with my own inaction, with my own, bullshit and things that I tell myself, excuses, inaction, yada, yada. And I wrote down with the big, asterisk next to it, why do I wait to get to that point before taking action? Why do I wait to get fed up before I take action that leads to change? So I wrote down in there something to explore. So I'm noting this down as an insight. It's like I'm aware and I know that I'm not taking action. And now I'm realizing that I wait until I get frustrated enough, right? And how many of you have experienced that where you've finally had enough that you do something, whether it's the thing you intended or something completely different, or you just, whatever it is, blow up at somebody or finally take action or finally whatever it is. So I wrote that down. That's something for me to explore about myself. Why do I wait that long? And during the full moon time, then come up the full moon time, I was taking part in a group call, for the full moon. And there were some questions presented during that call. And the questions were, I'll read them first and then I'll give you my insights. The first question was, what energy is blocking me right now? What energy can I embody to help break the blockage? And then where can I look to find my next steps? And I am a fan for myself of pulling cards, tarot cards, sometimes oracle cards, but primarily tarot cards for these types of questions. And I have a few moon themed decks that I use with like moon work, like intention setting and working through the lunar cycle. So the card that I pulled for what energy is blocking me right now is the Tower card. And if you're not familiar with tarot, it's a card that looks like someone's falling out of a tower or things are falling apart and shaking up, and kind of like, I've said this before, I think since I'm from LA, I always think of it as like an earthquake card. It's that shaking of the ground, breaking things up, tumbling things down that then creates space or the necessity for something to be rebuilt. So I got the Tower card. So what energy is blocking me? This fear of change. And I was like, why? I've experienced change, but I'm still human. So I've experienced change, both desired and planned, and also abrupt change that I was not planning. And that happened very suddenly. And so that's just, I wrote that down, fear of change or fear of rebuilding. And I wrote a question mark after that. Fear of new experiences. I couldn't quite wrap my head around that, but it's okay. So this fear of change, either sudden or not, So several different bullet points that I jotted down. And then the next question, what energy can I embody to help break the blockage? I got the 4 of Cups. And again, I wrote a question mark and what? Because that card typically speaks to feeling disconnected or apathy, missing what's right in front of us, right? We're looking at the stuff that we don't like or the things that are not moving us forward, but we're missing this thing that's right in front of us. I wrote, what? Disconnected? And what I realized as I just kind of wrote things out is this is the full moon time. So I'm getting this card at the full moon. And so disconnect from the fear, because thinking back to the Tower card, disconnect from that fear of change and what is holding me back, because there's a disconnect. See, this is where just key words sometimes pop up from the tarot meaning. But because there's a disconnect between what I know, the experiences that I've had, and what I desire moving forward. There's a disconnect. They don't align. And so I got this card at the full moon when it's time to let go of things to make room. So let go of things that don't serve us, that we don't like, that we don't need, that is extra baggage, whatever the case is, to make room for the things that we do want and things that we don't even know that are in alignment with our energy and our desires and our intentions. So there's this disconnect. So instead of focusing so much on the meaning of the card or the general keywords, I focused on that one word. It's like, okay, there's a disconnect between what I want. So that fear from the Tower card of change is showing me that there's this disconnect between what I have, what I've experienced and know, what I know because of I have lived it, and what I want looking forward. And then the third card, the third question, where can I look to find the next steps? It's in the other direction. I got the 3 of Wands, which is like, open possibilities. The world is before this person. There's in the deck that I used, a river and like hills and landscape, and he's standing on this precipice. Like all this is out there and available for the person to explore. And so what I wrote down, let's see, where can I look to find my next steps? I wrote in the other direction. Away from what has been holding me back and towards what is possible. And in those days when I was journaling and again, reflecting on it, I actually wrote in my journal, this is a quote, and I actually sent an email out about this. So if you're on my email list, you saw this, or it's in your inbox if you haven't seen it. I wrote in my journal, the first part was the first 2 words are in big capital letters and then the rest were normal. But so in my journal, I wrote, fuck it. I have decided to ditch thinking practically and realistically. And that's what I realized that disconnect was. My desires and dreams and the things that I want for myself and my life, they are much higher level than what I've experienced. So there's no connection. I am the connection really, because I am the common denominator between what I have already experienced and what I want moving forward, my dreams and wishes and what's in my my journal as I like script and write the me that has already had these, that already has these things. There's a disconnect. And so I've said this in I think a live a while ago, which I think it might be something good to revisit, is like there's a disconnect because what I have experienced was me trying to make myself fit into others' expectations of me, like what they thought was best for me, what I was guided to or nudged or given advice as to what to do and what I desire, because my desires are far greater. And the topic that I talked about before that I think might be worth revisiting is that I have been holding myself, how did I say this? I have been living down or trying to live down to the expectations of others when what my soul, my inner person, my higher self, my future self wants something that's much higher and much more beyond what their expectations. So a lot of times we hear or we even say to ourselves, why am I not living up to these expectations of other people? I'm letting them down. I'm doing this. And actually, what if, like in my case, the expectations or dreams or even, what they want for me is lower because it's safer, and that's the common thread there. They want what for me, they want safety and stability for me, and I'm like, that's okay. I'm okay taking risk and not knowing the answer, but I have to recondition my brain, reprogram my brain to follow that, because that safety and trying to fit into this box of safety, stability, consistency has actually been what's holding me back, because I've been fighting against it for so long, my entire life almost, because I'm trying to make it fit. Whereas like my soul and my higher self are pulling me, my intuition are pulling me much higher, but I'm holding myself back that way. So I have decided to ditch thinking practically and realistically, and that really feeds into, so like this realization, the intention that I set of confidence to be me, confident to be me. And so I wrote that I have decided to ditch thinking practically and realistically, because that's not going to get me where I want. It's not going to lead to making decisions, and it's not going to lead to attracting opportunities if I keep looking for practical steps, realistic steps. It goes beyond that, because I have to do something I have not done before or experienced or been guided towards. And so I also made a note here that laying out the cards, if you're someone who reads tarot or is interested in learning or just an aspect of tarot to look at, I actually laid the cards out in a line, like for the card for number question 1, and then the next card next to it for question 2, and the third card next to it for question 3. And what I looked at was where the people in the card, there's one person in each card, where they're looking. Because this is something I learned, that there's so many aspects of the card, of the tarot card or oracle card, that can give you insight. There's the meaning, there's imagery, there's colors, there's going to be something that is this message for you. And so the person from the tower is obviously looking down because they're falling out of the tower. So they're looking down because they're falling. The person with the 4 of cups, with like missing what's in front of us and like disconnected and apathy, that person is kind of, with his eyes down, but he's facing the direction of the tower card. And then the third card, the 3 of wands, that person is looking away, completely away from those other 2 cards. So they're looking in opposite directions. There's something over here. Let me get in the screen over here that's not beneficial, not helpful to me. And the person, what was the question? Where can I look for my next steps? Look away from what I know, what I've experienced, and look towards what is possible. So in this phase, the next new moon is going to be on April 20th. I believe that's Thursday. So April 20th of 2023. And it's going to again be an Aries new moon. So next time they're going to be we have 2 Aries new moons. I will get into the whys and kind of some info about that the next time around. But so in this time between now that we're in the third quarter, like this last quarter of the lunar cycle, I was like, okay, now it's time for me to start jotting down things that are not realistic and practical. What are things that seem far-fetched? What are desires? What are steps I can take? What are something recently that came to mind is like, I had this belief and this thought and this undercurrent that it takes a long time, or it has to, or it's going to take a long time to reach my goals, or to reach certain benchmarks. Well, with that running as the undercurrent, that's where my brain is focused. So identifying and realizing that, it's like, no, it's time for me now to rewrite that. It doesn't have to take a long time. And if it does, then it's been long enough already, right? But no, it doesn't have to take a long time. And so changing my thinking and the thoughts and beliefs that I need to change to move forward in this confidence that I set as an intention have been brought to light for me. So when you set an intention, overall, ultimately what comes up is what's unlike your intention, the things that are unlike it, that don't support it, that are not in line with it. So by setting that intention that I resisted at first of confident to be me, I have now become aware of the thoughts, some beliefs, the thinking and the expectations that I have been holding on to that are not in alignment with my intention. And so now I have this insight and awareness, and I can imagine a new way forward. I can start taking actions as the person who has leaving those things behind and stepping into a new way of being, because that's how we become the next level of ourselves. We have to practice it. It doesn't come automatically or naturally because we've never been that before. Or if we have and circumstances have changed and, we've lost confidence or whatever the case is, it takes practice. We have to practice being this new version of ourselves, because if it didn't take practice, we'd obviously just be it already and we'd have all the things. So hopefully this was helpful. And if you're listening to this in the future, beyond the new moon of March 2023 in these lunar lessons, these insights can still be beneficial because the zodiac calendar repeats. So next year, there'll be another Aries new moon. And there's a moon in Aries. Since the moon travels through all 12 zodiac signs every month, these themes maybe come up for you or resonate with you, and you can use it for yourself, or just, see my journey. That I think me witnessing other people's journey was also very helpful and gave me some insight. So that is this episode of my lunar lessons, the lunar lessons episode of this podcast. And I will, see you next time around. Don't forget, there is also a weekly episode that I post on. It's usually up Thursday evenings, and they're waiting for you Friday morning. So depending on your time zone or when you're up, the new episode posts on Thursday evening. And I would love to hear from you by email. And my email is vision@bluemoonmanifestations.com. As to your thoughts, if this helped you in any way, if you had some ahas or some insights, and also any topics that you would like me to talk about or cover here on the podcast. I'm always looking for that type of feedback. So thank you guys, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.